Hello, my name is Jordan Phillips. I'm going to tell you why you should never have to buy organic food ever. Now, let me explain this just a little bit more. There have been many instances where people have been scammed by the marketplace selling foods that have been grown organically. This is a popular trend in nutrition, but doesn't hold any water. Now, let me get to the roots of the problem. I have done some research and performed an experiment myself with organic fruit, so you don't have to waste any time or money on it. So I'm pulling some experience from both the farming community and from nutrition experts to illustrate this concept that organic food really isn't any better than the standard produce. So, we're going to take a look at the farming methods and organic food farmers, and then we'll go into the food themselves to find out from the nutritionists what nutrients can be had from them and what they can do for the body. So, first question is, how are organic foods grown, handled, and processed? So since organic refers to the way that a food is grown, handled, and processed, that doesn't necessarily mean that the soil of organic food farms have more or better nutrients in their soil. So let's talk a little bit more about the soil. When organic foods farm their food, they bring in nutrients for their soil, which is from a sustainable resource. This means that a farm can continue running without any hindrance from the outside world, without fear of running it or if it's running out of its resources. So chances are, if you look at something that has been running, or a farm that has been running for the past 20 years, they're probably using a sustainable resource for their soil or their feed. So the next is planting. So when you plant organic seed, the seed that are planted by farmers are required to be organic, which means that the farmers will basically have to re-domesticate an entire plant species. Does that sound like lots of work? It's probably because it is. The seeds that are commonly planted today have gone through a rigorous process of selective breeding. So what this means is we've taken the bigger corn and bred it with more big corn to make even bigger corn. Now, since they're going to be starting with wild seed some of the times, they're not going to be able to have the advantage of a larger product. So we're basically reinventing corn pretty much every year to be better than previous years. This isn't genetic tampering. This is a science that is using organic seed as much like, but using organic seed is much like starting over from square one. So let's talk about handling and protection. In protection, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get pests. In fact, farmers count on it. So when this happens, one of 3 things can happen. Either there is a great effort physically to be rid of the pest. This means going in and pulling a bunch of weeds, finding the pest itself, destroying that. Either that or a natural predator is released on the pests, or a synthetic pesticide is placed on these pests. So this is both true for organic and for the standard produce. So it doesn't matter. They're both going to maybe have pesticide on them. The only difference between the pesticides that are used on standard and organic is that organic has a shorter list to choose from. It does become difficult to spray for weeds when you don't raise a strain of corn that is resistant to the pesticide that you're using. Anyway, so with handling, farmers will go so far as to separate produce that is organic from non-organic foods. For example, remember the grocery store? So organic products will have their own place in the grocery store, set apart from the rest of the produce. So if you touched standard produce, and then you walk over to the organic section and touch an organic product, by USDA standards, the organic product you just touched is no longer organic. So organic food if placed with standard produce, can end up just being the standard. So how many failed organic vegetables can you find in the standard produce aisle? So far we've highlighted some of the problems with vegetables and fruits, but what about the eggs, steak, and milk and other animal byproducts that can be certified organic? For the sake of time, I'm only going to mention one, and that's milk. So milk cows are a huge part of the organic drive. Many people are abandoning milk altogether in favor of almond or coconut milk. And some farmers have sacrificed the health of their milk cows in order to bring organic milk to the supermarket shelves. So let me show you how they've been sacrificing the health of their cows. And that's through this movement called the grass-fed movement. You may have heard of the debate between grass-fed cows and silage-fed cows. Silage is a grain and corn mixture helped to feed cattle to help them maintain a weight that is appropriate for them. The reality is that it's dangerous to go to extremes with either grass or grain. So to illustrate this, we take the word from a farmer who quotes, "To withhold all grain from a dairy cattle breed to maximize milk production can often lead to skinny cows and health problems. Unfortunately, the health and well-being of the cows can be sacrificed for marketing purposes." So in short, grass-fed cattle are unsustainable, which is troubling because that's what helps keep a farm in business. Now, they're not unsustainable because of the grass. It's not because there's not enough grass in the world, but because grass doesn't provide enough nutrients to make an organic milk. The farmer also goes on to say that it is important for the cows to have the long stalk that comes from wheat in order to digest grass, silage, and anything else for that matter. That's how milk machines, like cows, work. So the impact on cattle, having this in mind, it may not be such a surprise that cows have actually died far before their time due to poor nutrition. And poor nutrition due to the fact that farmers are trying to switch to organic. It can be dangerous for bovine health and the economic state of the farm. It is unfortunate that something that claims to be so healthy for those that consume it can also end up being so unhealthy for those that produce it. So let's talk nutrition now. We've seen the struggle that comes from raising produce and cattle ineffectively and unhealthily. Let's see if there's a result from all that effort. While there have been demands for organic produce over the past 15 to 20 years in the United Kingdom, Christine M. Williams of the School of Food Biosciences states, "Support for this perception, organic is better, is difficult to identify." There is one conclusion that was reached through Mrs. Williams' research, that it was 25% of the studies, in 25% of the studies, organic produce actually had more vitamin C in it than the standard. But that's only 25%. In the same experiments, there are outliers with those with more than, those were the outliers with more vitamin C. For 12 vegetables, they had the same amount of vitamin C. And for 3 more vegetables, the organic produce actually had less. So is it really worth it? With half the chance of a coin toss, you could select organic produce that has pennies in worth of vitamin C per pound. Otherwise, organic is only a more expensive version of its standard counterpart. Sarah Merson, an avid organic food supporter, has even admitted that supermarkets are misleading us into believing that if a burger is marked organic, then it's good for us. So Sarah is one of those who has discovered that just being USDA approved organic isn't everything. There still needs to be a sustainable diet of vegetables and fruit in one's diet. You just can't just eat organic beef and expect to be healthy. As organic continues to be a buzzword in supermarkets and kitchens across America, the market strategy of simply including the word organic on your packaging has duped a good number of people into trying to be more health conscious, including myself. I had the unfortunate run-in to have had to try out a month's worth of organic kale. I would have every morning. I would have some, and I didn't see any difference in the way I would perform, in any way that I would any way of my health. I would do routine tests on my blood through the plasma center to see if there was any relationship between organic produce and the standard produce, and whether one or the other has better nutrition. What I got as a result was a pretty steady line, honestly. There wasn't much difference between the organic and standard produce. In conclusion, organic may look attractive, but the costs of bringing the dinner from the farm to the table is really, really high. Although the practices of organic has done great things for sanitization and sparing the use of pesticides, the standard vegetable has nearly the same nutritional value and is cheaper and can be produced in greater numbers. And for all intents and purposes, it is just as organic as the supposed organic vegetables. Organic has, unfortunately, become a word with which to scam and to swindle from those who wish to improve, both on the farm and in the body. Thank you for listening.